Hey, I was just talking to you guys like literally a few seconds ago, or at least it's a few seconds ago from my perspective. I mean, you can even see all the stuff from the last verb video on the board behind me there. I wanted to make a second video for imperfect verbs that are irregular. I wanted to do it as a separate video because already the other video was kind of long and, probably good to get the basics down and then think about the irregular verbs. But we do have to think about them soon because as it is, in our text, we've had 6 irregular verbs, and they're all super common, and they are not going to become any less common when we start putting verbs in the imperfect tense, okay? So, yeah, we just need to go ahead and know what those are. Unfortunately, irregular verbs exist at all, and you have to memorize them. Fortunately, Latin has fewer irregular verbs than like any other language that I know anything about at all. And even those 6 irregular verbs that we have already learned about, they're honestly not that bad in Latin. Like, they're not that irregular, at least not in the imperfect tense anyway. Now, by far the most irregular one is the one we're going to start with, and that is sum, okay? Sum esse. The most irregular verb there is, also the most important verb you can ever learn. If you only learn one verb, make it sum. Please learn more than one verb. But if it's only going to be one, this is the one it should be. And I'm talking about this one here, sum esse, okay? It's the verb to be, right? So in the present tense, the forms were sum es est. I am, you are, he, she, it is. Well, when you make it imperfect, the same rules about translating it are going to apply. It's going to be I was, you were, he, she, it was. But here's the trippy thing about it. There's no BA in there. And that's probably not going to make you very happy, because the thing we learned about our imperfect verbs in, at least when they were regular, is that they always have a BA, and the forms of sum do not. And they still have A's in them, so that's something. But also there's an R in there, and where did that come from? There's no R in sum or esse, the principal parts. But this is, because it's irregular, and you just have to memorize that. And yes, you will see these forms. If you are watching this after we read chapter 13, then you already have, okay? So, yeah, eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erant. Say it over and over again. Say it as many times as you have to until you get it down, because it is literally the most common verb that shows up in any text. So you need to know that form. And not only will it show up in our text in the imperfect frequently, also we're going to end up using that form for some other things later on. So if you get it down now, it's going to have big payoffs for you later, because it'll make stuff later a lot easier. And also, there's compounds of it. And the compounds use that same form too, right? Like, like sometimes they'll stick a prefix on it, like ad or ab, to be present, to be away. And that's going to do the same thing, just with eram after it when it's imperfect. Or another irregular verb that we've talked about is possum, which is literally a compound of sum. You just have to add P-O-T onto the front. Now that is a little bit different than the present tense, where sometimes you were adding P-O-S, but that's because some of the present forms of possum are, sticking a P-O-S on a form of sum that would have started with S. Whenever the form of sum starts with E, you put P-O-T, and, well, with the imperfect, eram always starts with an E, so you have P-O-T everywhere. Which, when you think about it, is less irregular than having to flip back and forth between POS and POT. In the imperfect, it's always POT. Poteram, poteras, poterat. So we have I was able, you were able, he, she, it was able, etc. Okay? Now, those two are the most irregular we're going to see today. I'm actually going to show you all 6 of them, but wolo, which was hideously irregular in the present, right? That whole wolo, wies, wolt business. Those verbs don't even really look that similar. But in the imperfect, they're actually real easy. It looks pretty much like what you would think it would look like. It looks kind of regular almost, right? You just get V-O-L-E. You do have to have an E there. But other than that, you just get V-O-L and then the bombas bot. The same bombas bot you see in regular verbs. Like really, if you were to guess, you might actually guess this. You couldn't guess all the forms of the present tense bolo, but with imperfect you kind of can. And actually, it's just as easy for nolo because for nolo, if it's imperfect, all you have to do is make the V into an N, and then you're good to go, right? So where where wole bomb would mean I was wanting, nole bomb would mean I was not wanting. It's actually pretty simple. Even the other two, ferro ferre, in truth, ferro ferre is barely irregular in the present. Well, it's basically not irregular in the imperfect. You just get fere and then the same bomb, boss, bot you get with regular verbs. Well, that's pretty easy. So if this means to bear or to carry, you would have I was carrying, you were carrying, he, she, it was carrying. I mean, really, you could mistake this for a third conjugation verb. Same with wolo and nolo. If anything in the imperfect irregular verbs is going to trip you up other than sum or a compound of sum, it might be ire, the verb to go. And actually, ire, the verb to go, does still use the same bom, bos, bot as a regular verb. The only thing that might trip you up about this is that the stem is so short. It's just that one letter, the letter I, that people often forget that it's the verb ire. They see something like ebot or ebont in their dictionary or in their story, and then they don't see that in their dictionary because in the dictionary it's listed under E for AO. So this could trip you up. Be careful about it, but it's literally just because of how short it is. So those are your 6 irregular verbs. And that's, I think, everything we need to talk about with the imperfect tense. But again, you're going to need practice with this, and you're probably going to have follow-up questions. Also, I probably missed my face on this one since I'm using the other side of my camera. I can't see the viewfinder. But you know what? We're going to post it anyway. So, yeah, hopefully that's enough for you guys to, understand your imperfect verbs. Now let's go practice them so we can find out if that's true or not. All right. I will see you all you wonderful people, soon, I guess. Bye.